Now we're subtracting numbers with a different number of decimal places. So first we have 37.8 minus 14.671. Now we can use column subtraction for this, but it's really important that we write the numbers out with the decimal points lined up. We don't write the numbers out with the digits lined up on the right hand side, like we do when we're subtracting whole numbers. It needs to be the decimal points that are lined up, because if the decimal points are lined up, then the place values, so our tens, ones, tenths, hundredths and thousandths columns will be lined up as well. Now we have some empty squares, and we can write zeros in empty squares, because 37.800 is the same as 37.8, so we haven't changed the question, because all these zeros tell us is that we don't have any hundredths or thousandths in the number 37.8. Now we can copy the decimal point down into our answer, so that our place values are lined up in our answer as well, and now we can just subtract using column subtraction. So we can't do 0 minus 1 using the column method, and we can't exchange with the place value to the left because we have a 0. So we need to go all the way over to the tenths and exchange one of those tenths for 10 hundredths. Then we can exchange one of those hundredths for 10 thousandths. So now 10 minus 1 is 9, 9 minus 7 is 2, 7 minus 6 is 1, 7 minus 4 is 3, and 3 minus 1 is 2. So that gives us 23.129. Now we have 36.909 minus 20.67. Again, we've got the numbers written out with the decimal points lined up. So now we can write zeros in empty squares and copy the decimal point down into our answer. 9 minus 0 is 9. We can't do 0 minus 7, so go to the left, 1 less, 1 in front. 10 minus 7 is 3. 8 minus 6 is 2, 6 minus 0 is 6, and 3 minus 2 is 1. So our answer is 16.239. Now we have 6 minus 5.738, and it's important that we write the question out with the 5 ones in our decimal underneath the 6 ones that we're subtracting from. Now 6 is the same as 6.000. You can always put a decimal point and then zeros on the end of a whole number. 6.000 is the same as 6, because all the .000 tells us is that in the number 6 we don't have any tenths, hundredths or thousandths. But now we can subtract using column subtraction, but first, so that we don't forget, let's copy the decimal point down into our answer. Now we can't do 0 minus 8, and when we go to the left we have a 0 and then another 0, so we need to go all the way over to the ones column and exchange one of those ones for 10 tenths, then exchange one of those tenths for 10 hundredths, and finally exchange one of those hundredths for 10 thousandths. So now 10 minus 8 is 2, 9 minus 3 is 6, 9 minus 7 is 2, and 5 minus 5 is 0. That gives us 0.262. Let's take another look at this first question, but let's use place value counters so we can see what we did. We started with 37.8, so that's 3 tens, 7 ones, and 8 tenths. First, we wanted to subtract 1 thousandth, but to do that we first had to exchange one of our tenths for 10 hundredths, so we can take one of our tenths and exchange it for 10 hundredths counters. Then we took one of those hundredths and exchanged it for 10 thousandths, so we can take a hundredth counter, and that's the same value as 10 thousandths. So now we can take 1 thousandth away to leave us with 9 thousandths. Then we subtracted 7 hundredths, so if we take away 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hundredths, that leaves us with 2 hundredths in our answer. Then we subtracted 6 tenths, to leave us with 1/10. We subtracted 4 ones to get 3 ones in our answer, and we subtracted 1/10. So that gave us an answer of 23.129. So 2 tens, 3 ones, 1/10, 2 hundredths and 9 thousandths. Then we started with 36.909. So that's 3 tens, 6 ones, 9 tenths, no hundredths and 9 thousandths. We didn't need to subtract any thousandths, so the 9 thousandths remained in our answer. We did need to subtract 7 hundredths, but to do that, because we didn't start with any hundredths, we had to exchange one of our tenths for 10 hundredths. So we can take one of our tenths counters, and because that's the same as 10 hundredths, we can now subtract 7 hundredths, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and that gives us 3 hundredths in our answer. Then we subtracted 6 tenths to get 2 tenths in our answer. We didn't subtract any ones, but we subtracted 2 tens, and that left us with 16.239. Finally, we started with 6, so that's 6 ones. But first, we wanted to subtract 8 thousandths. To do that, first, we had to exchange one of our ones for 10 tenths. Then, we had to exchange one of those tenths for 10 hundredths. And then, we exchanged one of those hundredths for 10 thousandths. So then, we could subtract 8 thousandths to leave us 2 thousandths in our answer. We could subtract 3 hundredths, that left us with 6 hundredths. We could subtract 7 tenths, that meant we had 2 tenths in our answer, and then we were subtracting 5 ones, so there were no ones in our answer. That's 0.262. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope that was helpful. If you're a teacher or a parent, then please subscribe or go to keystage2maths.com to download resources for this lesson and many more. That's all for now. I'll see you in the next video.